right. Let's start with the first session, which is the course overview and objectives of this DHIS2 Analytics Tools Academy. So, this training targets DHIS2 implementation support personnel and data managers who are mainly responsible for producing analytic outputs when using DHIS2. And the training is meant to provide an overview of the various built-in tools available within DHIS2 and to produce analytic outputs and review how to use them in practice. You may all be aware that we have few built-in analytic tools in DHIS2. I assume that all of you must have completed the DHIS2 Fundamentals Academy by now, which is of course a prerequisite. So you must be having a thorough idea about the analytic tools which are available. So for example, we have built-in analytic tools such as pivot table, data visualizer, maps, and dashboards. So in addition, we have few other supplementary analytic applications which are not part of the core software. And these will also be discussed during this DHIS2 Academy. So for example, we'll be touching upon the WHO data quality tool as well as a scorecard as two main tools. But in addition, if you have any queries about other supplementary analytic tools that are around built on DHIS2, you can also contact our facilitators, and if you have any queries, you can get them clarified. But we will not be mainly focusing about too much into other analytic tools, but we will mostly be talking about the data quality tool and the scorecard. And also, I must mention that this academy does not necessarily focus on taking data and turning it into actionable evidence on a given setting. So if you are having, say, for example, if your expectation, because when I was just listening to your introduction, I felt that some of you have some objectives of getting some help about the specific data that they have, which is maybe like very country specific. So for that one, I think you may need to attend a country DHIS2 training program, or else you can, at any time you can contact one of us and get them clarified. But we will not go into any specific country related data analysis in this training program, but it will be kind of a generic thing which could be applied to any country context. And when it comes to the learning goals, within the DHIS2 community, we want to increase the level of understanding of the features that are available to produce reporting outputs within DHIS2. And also we want to increase the ability to use the core analytic applications within the DHIS2 reports, and also the supplementary applications which are not part of the DHIS2 core software to review data and produce report within DHIS2. So I must also mention here, like DHIS2 is not just a software, but it's a platform. So why we call it a platform is that we have some core functionality and tools available within DHIS2. You can use them to provide certain analytic outputs using the core DHIS2 software. But at any time you feel that you need to produce some additional analytic outputs which are not possible in DHIS2, there are few tools available which have been developed by third-party organizations, which you can download and install into your DHIS2 application to extend the functionality. Or else, if you have sufficient resources, you can get DHIS2 web apps developed, which could be installed onto DHIS2 and get your analytic output. So we will be talking briefly about these applications during the course of the academy. The performance objectives of the academy are to use the analytic tools within the DHIS2 to review data quality, and also to explain and construct on analytic outputs, and to share data analysis and presentation skills, and to provide participants with real experience using data within DHIS2. So briefly expanding on what's mentioned here, during this academy, we will be demonstrating different analytic tools which are available. In addition to the demonstration, we will also mention the theory component, the conceptual factors related to DHIS2, which goes into analysis part when you are using analytic tools. And in addition, we will also have few hands-on exercises, especially we will be having exercises which will not be graded and assignments which will be graded, and also final examination, which will kind of evaluate your experience and understanding of the concepts and hands-on skills that we were trying to develop during the academy. In addition, we want to understand the impact certain design choices within the DHIS2 have on how outputs can be made, customized, and altered. Um, so to explain a bit more on this first point, what we try to highlight here is that this DHIS2 Academy is mainly targeted to explain analytic tools. But why we made DHIS2 fundamentals a prerequisite is that you cannot really analyze data which is in DHIS2 without having a proper understanding about the building blocks and the conceptual design of the DHIS2. So for this one, you need to have some understanding, some basic idea about various components, the fundamental elements which are present in DHIS2 design. So for example, you need to have an idea about data elements, indicators, and how they are configured, and how these data elements and indicators are configured into a data set. So those elements which are not covered during this academy is kind of required so that you will be getting a proper idea, and it will be very easy to proceed with analysis when you have this background information. So we assume that you have followed DHIS2 Fundamentals Academy and have a basic idea about the various design concerns in DHIS2. You will also learn how certain components in DHIS2 can be configured to better support analysis of data. We will also discuss implementation challenges related to analytic outputs and potential solutions to address them in a generic way. Of course, there are a few sessions where we will be conducting group exercises and group activities where you can discuss about individual country context, country challenges, and maybe present to the entire group as the issues that you are facing as a group. So we will try to take few of them, and we will discuss them and try to find solutions, common solutions that we can recommend in general. But I mean, like, this academy, of course, run for a very short span of time, and I mean, so because of that, we won't be able to commit that we will have sufficient time during the live sessions to take up individual country-specific issues that you may have. But you are free to discuss about these issues with the facilitators offline. Right. So with regard to the learning objectives and the components that we'll be covering, these are the main tools that that we hope to cover during the academy. So we'll be covering on validation rules, pivot tables, charts, maps, interpretations, and dashboards, which are core DHIS2 modules. In addition, there are two other supplementary tools that we'll be briefly discussing, which are scorecard and WHO data quality app. But mind you, we won't go into too much depth because we have other DHIS2 academies, especially level 2 academies. Level 2 data quality academy goes into details, in-depth analysis and in-depth training on how to use and configure the data quality app. But because we have this, we need to have, of course, not only we need to have level 2 academies, but we have to save our time to cover most of the analytic tools available in this level 1 academy. So we won't go into too much depth in WHO data quality app, but we will briefly mention how to use it. Right. So there will be an emphasis on providing hands-on exercises in order to ensure everyone is familiar with all the tools discussed throughout the academy. And the supplementary topics, including how the configuration of certain items can enhance the creation of outputs, as well as how to configure, how this configuration is performed, will be discussed only for certain topics. So discussions on how to configure items will also be supplemented with exercises for participants to learn how to configure certain items on their own. So there will be exercises. These are not meant purely for the purpose of evaluation, but these exercises will actually kind of help you to master on the theory aspect that you learned during the academy, and by doing the exercises you will be able to achieve the skills in customizing your analytic output. And also note that this academy does not include a detailed discussion on configuring all items discussed. So because the thing is like there will be certain limitations as to the depth that we'll be covering during the academy, which I will also mention during the agenda overview. Right, then something very important and interesting. So once you complete this DHIS2 Level 1 Academy, you will be issued a certificate of successful completion of DHIS2 Level 1 Analytics Tools Academy. So for you to obtain this, we will be having certain graded assignments, and there will be a final quiz or final examination on the last day of the academy. So all these graded assignments and the final examination, and also I must emphasize that there will also be some marks allocated for attendance. So these three components will contribute to the final grade that you are obtaining, and you need to obtain at least 70% out of the final grade in order to be considered as successfully completed the DHIS2 Analytic Tools Academy. So you need to obtain 70% or more for you to get this certificate. So you have to keep that in mind and concentrate on the contents that are covered during the academy from the day one. It is not difficult. I mean, these academies we have been conducting for so many years, and we see like the participants who just follow the basics, and you don't have to put the extra effort. These are not very difficult tasks that we are giving in these assignments and the final examination, but you need to do some you need to be punctual and do the daily work so that you'll be able to very easily pass the final examination and of course obtain this 70% grade that is required. Right, so this is how the final grade is constituted. You can see on this table that there are two columns. So you can see the weight which is added to each of the components. So remember the attendance. So for the attendance, you will be getting 10% out of the final grade. So please make sure that this academy runs for 11 days, including today. And say if you attend all 11 days, you'll be getting 10% without any difficulty at all. So because of that, you have to be concerned about attendance. So with regard to the other assignments that we are having, we will be having assignments on validation rules, pivot table, data visualizer, and maps, which will contribute to 10% of the final grade. And also we have finally on the 10th day, we will be having a comprehensive exercise covering most of the analytic tools that were discussed during the academy, which will contribute to 25% of the marks. And finally, we have the final examination on the 11th day, that is the final day, which will again contribute to 25%. So this is how the 100% marks are formulated. Okay, so let's start moving into the agenda, and I will briefly mention what are the topics that we'll be covering in the agenda. But before moving into that, are you all with me? Or do you need any break? Because we have been continuing for a little over 1 hour. So I assume before moving on to the agenda that we will take a 5 minutes break. Is that fine? Yeah, I think so, because we have been continuing for 1 hour. So let's meet back in 5 minutes. And in the meantime, if you are having any difficulty, please use the chat and type in your questions, and we will soon introduce into the other platforms that we are using for communication. So see you in 5 minutes. All right, so is everyone back? I hope so. Right, so let us now go through the agenda that we are covering in this over the course of these 11 days. So let's start with day 1. So day 1 is of course today. So today we'll be covering the course overview, which I'm doing now. And of course, then we will do introduction to the learning platforms. So here we will, my colleague Priyanka will explain to you the learning management system that we'll be using. So because like there were a few questions about mentioning about that some of you are not having access to the learning platform is because for this one we will be using a separate Moodle based learning LMS learning management system. I think some of you, in fact, like almost all of you, must have received emails. If you have never had any accounts in this learning management system that we are using, or else you will have to log in again. But more on this will be mentioned by my colleague Priyanka in the next session. And also we will be using a Slack based workspace for communications, and of course the Zoom platform which you all are logged in now. So that will be the next session Priyanka will be doing. And of course, we have already concluded the introduction to the instructors and participants. And as the final component of the day one, so day one, we don't expect to exert you too much, but we will try to give you the essence of what is there when it comes to analytic tools in DHIS2. So we will be having a brief presentation of what is new in analytics. Followed by that, we will be doing a demonstration of how to use these analytic tools in an integrated setup. So that is all for the day one. And for the day two, of course, that is tomorrow, we'll be discussing briefly about the configuration of DHIS2, because as I mentioned before, you cannot proceed analyzing data without having a background idea about how the configuration or the customization of DHIS2 is affecting the analysis. So we will be just reviewing, won't go into too much detail, but we will be reviewing the DHIS2 building blocks, the data elements and data set disaggregations, organization units and groups, as well as indicators on day two, which is tomorrow. Day three, we'll be discussing about the first uh, uh, analytic tool that we are concerned about in this academy, which is how to apply validation rules. So we will introduce you to validation rules, what validation rules are and when to use it, and about using thresholds in validation rules. And we will finally discuss about how to set validation rule notifications. So that's all that we are going to do for the day three. And for the fourth day, we will introduce you to a supplementary DHIS2 based analytic tool, which is the WHO data quality tool. So as I mentioned before, we have a separate level 2 training academy for data quality in which at least like somewhere close to 2 days are allocated to cover the content related to WHO data quality tool. So because we have this extensive content which is covered in the level 2 academy, we won't go into too much detail in this one, but we will discuss some important topics like data quality review framework and how data quality related to completeness, consistency over time and consistency over data affects your configuration. And also we will talk about outliers and briefly on annual report on the day 4. Right. On day 5, we are coming back to a core DHIS2 analytic application, which is pivot table. So we will start off with something which all of us feel is very easy, which is the tabular data output. So we will start off with the pivot table. So here we will be discussing about how to select the dimensions, which of course we have configured and we have got an idea on day 2 when we discuss about the design consideration. So we are kind of reviewing what we did on previous day, which is day 2. So we will discuss about the dimension selection and also layout and options which are there in the pivot table application. Then about disaggregations and group sets, and then things such as downloading the data, number types, filtering, as well as how to apply legends. So this is what we'll be discussing related to pivot table on day 5. So on the first week of this academy, which is starting from today. So today is Monday. So day 5 till day 5, we will have sessions on every day. So the final day that is for this week will be day 5 this Friday. So we will in fact have a break over the weekend, as most of you will prefer. So we will have a break over the weekend, and then we will meet again on day 6. So day 6 we'll be discussing, that is next Monday, we will be discussing about data visualizer. So here we will mention about dimension selections and working the layout, and also disaggregations, group sets, chart options, and additional chart types. So more or less in pivot table and data visualizer, we'll be covering the same subtopics. Day 7, which is next Tuesday, 1st of September, we will cover maps. So here we will be discussing about overview and thematic layers, and how to use boundary and facility layers in maps, and also working with legends. And we will also discuss about drilling up and drilling down, and the data table and maps download, which are kind of new additions in last few versions of DHIS2. And the newest additions, of course, are split view and timeline maps, which have been added in version 2.34. So these we'll be discussing about on day 7. Something to remember for Sri Lankan participants. I'm aware that day 7, which is of course September 1st, is a public holiday in Sri Lanka, but due to our time constraints, time and logistic constraints, we will have to have the academy on that day as well, because we also have a significant proportion of participants who are joining outside Sri Lanka. So day 7, which is a public holiday for Sri Lankan participants, unfortunately, you will have to bear with us, and we'll be conducting the academy on that day as well. On day 8, of course, we have just a small topic, but of course, because it's a complementary supplementary tool, and it is something new, we will dedicate the entire day for the scorecard. So here we will discuss about using and interpreting the scorecard, and how to configure the scorecard on day 8. Day 9, we are going to start off with some a new topic, which is not really, which is not too technical as per DHIS2. How to use the DHIS2, but it's more about how to use data. So we will be discussing about these interpretations, where we will touch upon data to action framework, and how to write descriptions in DHIS2. So this will be kind of a very interesting session, because here we will be integrating the DHIS2 analytic tools along with the public health understanding that most of our participants are having. And then we will also have dashboards on day 9, where we'll be discussing about how to use, create, and share the dashboards. On day 10, the most awaited comprehensive exercise. So if you can remember, this exercise will contain bits of all the analytic tools that we have covered in the previous 9 days. So this exercise will be an individual exercise. I think my colleague Priyanka will mention to you the types of assignments that we are having. So I will also briefly mention, the thing is, we are having group exercise as well as individual exercise. So we are hoping to have few of the assignments as group works, where you will be assigned to groups. So when you log into the learning management system, once Priyanka introduces it, you all will notice that you have been assigned to. So altogether, we'll be having 12 groups. Each group will have 4 participants, which we have already assigned. So this we will make available the list of the groups and the participants in the learning management system once you access to it. So what we expect is, few of the assignments, we will mention which ones. You will be doing it as groups. You will be doing it in groups, and you will do a group submission. And in addition, few of them, including the comprehensive exercise, will be an individual assignment where you will have to, each one of you will have to submit the assignments. So this will contribute to 25% of the marks from your final grade. And the day 11, we will discuss. So by day 11, we have finished discussing about all the analytic tools, and you have done the comprehensive exercise. So you are kind of really polished with regard to the analysis using DHIS2. So with that background, we will be discussing about the implementation considerations, which are kind of practical considerations when you are using these analytic tools in DHIS2. And followed by that, the final examination, which will be a multiple choice examination held online in our learning management system. So with that, we are hoping to conclude the DHIS2 Academy on day 11. And hopefully, all of you will successfully complete the academy and obtain the successful completion certificate.